Alright, welcome back one and all. And we are back with our more steady commentators. Myself, I am Matthew Hui.
And I am
As
Justin.
the name should show shortly. And my commentator here is Justin Lok, who was late for today's Top Guy.
I apologize.
Which is why we are back now, after giving our friends from Thailand a chance to show their stuff and support their friend Jirawat in the previous Top 8 match. Moving on, however, we'll be going on to a Top 8 match between Yoko Taguma and Emil Ng.
Two local players from Singapore who have done, I think, pretty decent in past tournaments as well. Emil, more of a recent phase, but he has performed quite well, especially taking part in the Australian friendly match as well between Singapore.
Right. Yoko actually has found a strike more recently as well. Emil has found a row, probably in a longer row, I would say. He's won 2 Premier Challenges, including the last one, which in fact, he beat Yoko to do so. So this is actually a rematch of the previous Premier Challenge final. Emil versus Yoko, and playing very similar teams, in fact. So both of them kind of know what each other are up to, and it's going to be interesting how they change things up from the last set they had.
Especially since this is going to be a best of 3, how they adapt to each other. There should be a lot of mind games and predictions going between both of those players.
At this point, I think it's not going to be a typical best of 3 set in the sense that you're not going to have a game where both players want to feel each other out, because both players kind of know what each other has up their sleeves by now. This is probably the 6th time that they're playing with these teams. So at this point, they kind of know what to expect, and I think they have settled their own game plans to take on each other's teams.
So what you're saying is they'll be going for each other's throat and not trying to feel out for information.
Yes, this is going to be whoever can land the first decisive blow. I think it's going to go a long way.
Well, it still is a best of 3, so anything can happen. I believe the players are ready.
So as pointed out, both players playing very similar teams to the last time they faced off in the Premier Challenge. Emil will be running Groudon, Imoga, Smeargle, Lopunny, Bronzong, and Kyogre.
And Yoko will be running the Rayquaza, Kyogre, Mawile, Amoonguss, Zapdos, and Crobat.
So Emil running with the dual primals, with a fast mode and a slow mode, with the Bronzong there offering triple move if he needs it.
Yeah, Emil tends to favor more unorthodox picks, as you can see from the Imoga and the Lopunny. The Bronzong not so much. I believe it's become a recent favorite on many players. Yeah, but the Smeargle threat is there, although there is no Xerneas to take advantage of that Dark Void. And as for Yoko's team, the Rayquaza and Kyogre, I think it's one of the standards that Cybertron first started using. No.
Ryogre has been around from the very beginning of the format.
Yeah, I'm not very familiar with that then. Okay, we'll be going into the match, and Yoko will be sending out Crobat and Rayquaza. Very offensive lead there.
Offensive? Not with the Crobat there though.
I know, but with the Imoga, I think they can possibly hope to match Tailwinds here. Though Imoga does have the option of paralyzing either the Rayquaza or the Crobat.
Emil with a pretty strong start here with the Imoga actually, because Imoga is actually one of his few mons that can quite comfortably take a Dragon Ascent from Rayquaza and threaten with the Nuzzle. And Crobat, of course, not offering the most offensive presence. Of course, it has Super Fang to whittle the Kyogre down and put it within range of Dragon Ascent. But Imoga is kind of free to spread Tailwinds, fire off a Nuzzle into the Rayquaza, and the Rayquaza is really going to have to think about whether it wants to attack.
Yeah, importantly here, even if the Crobat does have the Taunt, Nuzzle will still go through because it is considered an attack. So the paralysis cannot be stopped by the Crobat here. So does Yoko want to preserve her Rayquaza? Could leave herself open to a free attacks from Emil.
The problem with Yoko trying to preserve her Rayquaza is that she kind of is forced to protect, because nothing on her team wants to switch into a Nuzzle, except the Zapdos. And if she has the Zapdos, then she's kind of limited on offense because she's already brought the Crobat.
Well, there are no switches and the Rayquaza goes for the protect, not Mega Evolving here as well. Kyogre as well protects, so it'll just be the 2 support Pokemon.
Crobat goes for the Tailwind. Are we going to see Imoga match the Tailwind as well?
That would be ideal in this case. And
yes,
Imoga
does match the Tailwind.
So a pretty dead turn except for the fact that both legendaries have used up their protects.
Probably stronger turn for Yoko overall, because now Yoko is free to fire off a Dragon Ascent, though, as we pointed out, Rayquaza kind of needs a boost from an item if he wants to have a chance of killing Kyogre. Well, especially since it looks like Emil is running with the max HP Kyogre.
Well, there is the option of the Crobat Super Fang to halve the HP of the Kyogre first. But it does leave Yoko's Pokemon open to a Nuzzle from Imoga.
Yes, Imoga is kind of free to do whatever it wants this turn. With the Nuzzle, hitting whatever target it feels like.
And even if Yoko can take down the Kyogre, if the Rayquaza is paralyzed with the defense drops from the Dragon Ascent, anything that comes back in should be able to pick up the KO.
Emil is going to switch his Kyogre out, sending in something else, hopefully to eat the Super Fang and Dragon Ascent. And it looks like it's the Bronzong. No, it's the Groudon, I'm afraid. I'm not entirely sure Groudon wants to be eating a Super Fang and Dragon Ascent combination. So this actually could be a case of sacrifice.
Sacrifice? That's... So your Emil favors the Kyogre matchup? As in, he favors his Kyogre being more useful in this matchup?
It kind of looks like that is the case. Super Fang does go into Groudon. I expect a double target as well.
Oh.
But Rayquaza actually slower than Imoga. Oh, because it hasn't Mega Evolved.
Ah. Yeah, why hasn't it Mega Evolved yet? I mean...
I think it's pretty clear that Yoko has the Moao at the back. She is keeping the Rayquaza in.
And yeah, Rayquaza goes for the Dragon Ascent. Oh, Groudon hangs on with just 2 HP.
It's a pretty clear indication that the Rayquaza does not carry a boosting item. And if it does not, that might just be the Sash variant which has been broken by Imoga's Nuzzle now.
Yeah, if it was a Lum, it would have already been eaten to cure the paralysis, so yeah.
So a very strong turn for Emil there. Rayquaza didn't paralyze and actually revealed itself to be slower than the Imoga. What am I saying? Imoga is at 102 base speed. 103 actually.
Well, the Rayquaza can go for the pick off here with the extreme speed if it doesn't get fully paralyzed.
Which is
oh, okay.
for the Rayquaza.
I
so
jinxed
Fang
it.
will go into the Imoga because if he goes for the Groudon, it only does 1 HP damage.
Yeah, and Super
And
Fang...
static will paralyze Crobat as well. Imoga revealing itself to not be carrying the
Oh, but
Drive.
Crobat gets the Lum Berry off. Not sure it's going to be very useful as Imoga goes for the Nuzzle again. So, regardless, the Pokemon Crobat will be fully paralyzed, regardless of the Lum Berry. And actually, Groudon shows the hidden power. Should be
Ice will take out Rayquaza in a single hit without
the
being
defense
Mega.
drops and the crit.
Defense drops from Dragon Ascent, not being Mega Rayquaza, not having Delta Stream.
And the critical hit. Yeah, all kind of gel together, I guess. And
A
the
lot
Sash not going to play there as well.
And Lumberry not going to play either because of the double paralysis in one turn. Interesting to note for Yoko is that Emil does not carry Moto Drive on his Imoga, which means that if Zapdos does come into play, Zapdos can Thunderbolt into Imoga.
I'm not sure Zapdos has a good matchup against Groudon though. So
both players not really having the no Tailwind turns because Tailwind did go up on the same turn for both of them.
Well, in this case, however, I think Emil safely should be able to set up Tailwind well. Yoko seems to be a bit under pressure here to match the Tailwind in future turns.
So Yoko does have an easier time with the fast Crobat on the field, and Crobat has taken the Nuzzle, however.
Yeah. And Kyogre comes into play with the Rain.
So the Rain does go up, and Emil does have Groudon on the field. So even though Rayquaza is down, Emil doesn't have the option to send Groudon in to change the weather because Groudon is right here right now. And Imoga does not have any way to play with the weather.
Yeah, but I mean, all Emil has to do now, I guess, is to just spread paralysis, get the speed control off, and he should be able to roll through Yoko's team quite comfortably.
Yes, Imoga is right now very comfortably the fastest thing on the field, and he can Nuzzle the Kyogre as well. And
Yeah.
Kyogre chooses to protect. Then Crobat just doesn't do anything either because Crobat can't kill anything on the field.
And it will just be a question of what Emil chooses to do with the Groudon, whether he plays safe by protecting or trying to kill the Crobat if he predicts a Kyogre protect.
At this point, I think Emil might be comfortable sacrificing his Groudon and just going for the attack there. Because if he does get the attack on, if Kyogre does protect, then Groudon sticks around for a turn. If Kyogre does go for the attack, then he gets Nuzzled anyway.
Yeah, well, at this HP, only the Kyogre will be able to kill.
Alright, Kyogre leaves itself open to the Nuzzle, so Yoko's team just getting paralyzed by the Imoga repeatedly. Kyogre, of course, having no hope of a berry to save itself.
And
As
oh,
Kyogre
Water
does
Spout.
reveal himself to be the fast Primal. Yoko being a fan of timid Kyogre, of course. But now that it's paralyzed, that timid nature not going to come much into play now.
Well, at the very least, he didn't get fully paralyzed, was able to pick up 2 KOs here, getting rid of the very annoying Amoga on Emil's team, and Tailwind peters out, which really doesn't matter because now, I guess Crobat is still alive, so he can set up Tailwind again, but all that does is just negate the paralysis.
not actually negate.
Yeah, it's
Paralysis does quarter your speed.
So even with the Tailwind, Yoko's team will still be slower.
Yes.
So I don't think that's something she wants to go for then.
So Emil now free to do whatever he wants actually. A
And
double target here with the Lopani low kick, I suppose, and the Water Spout should take out Kyogre and bring out the Crobat as well, and bring Yoko down to her last Pokemon, which is probably the Mawile since she has yet to Mega Evolve.
In this case, I don't think Mawile does want to face a Kyogre in the rain. Yeah. I mean,
Yoko has to make a decision here whether what she wants to do with her Mawile. Mawile might have to come in at some point and sacrifice itself just to get the Intimidate off to save her own Kyogre from a double target of Low Kick and Water Spout.
even then, I don't think that's a very good move. Because the Kyogre is paralyzed, I don't think it will be able to contribute much to the end game for Yoko here.
My sports question is, would Mawile, on the other hand, against a Kyogre? Mawile against Kyogre is a rather iffy matchup at best.
And at this point, Emil can just pick off the Pokemon that he wants. Oh, he goes for the fake out actually.
Unlike our friend Daniel Lee yesterday, he goes for the fake out onto the non-inner focus Pokemon. Emil gets the Water Spout off, should KO the Crobat, and do a significant chunk to the opposing Kyogre, who will flinch this turn.
And what will Yoko bring in at last? We do expect to see the Mawile, yes.
As it is.
But at this point, I believe, yeah, it's really... Yoko's Kyogre is really open to just being KO'd this turn, and a 2-on-1 on the Mawile.
Mawile right now is almost forced into the Sucker Punch into the Kyogre slot, just to save the Kyogre from being KO'd by Water Spout.
But even then, I don't think with the combination of a low kick from the Lopunny, even being intimidated, I think it's enough to pick up the KO.
That is true. And that will leave Mawile against the wall.
I don't know. Iron Head is not going to be very effective against Kyogre. Play rough maybe?
But if Mawile doesn't Sucker Punch, it just goes right down to the Water Spout. Yoko forced in a very tough position. It's kind of hoping Emil misplays at this point. Hoping Emil maybe makes a misplay and maybe goes in after you instead. But he has really no reason to go for it.
Yeah, I mean, the Kyogre is paralyzed, Mawile is definitely slower. Yeah, well, Emil, you could say, won this match by controlling the speed very effectively.
Imoga just ran right through Yoko's team, paralyzing 3 separate Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, okay, if you discount discount the static and, you know, maybe there was a bit of lucky.
3 nuzzles off.
Yeah, the nuzzle really came into play for this match.
Had Emil really getting out of jail by having his Groudon go all the way down to 2 HP instead of 1. If he had gone down to 1 HP, Superfang could pick up the KO.
I don't think so.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Shang discovered to his Shagri over in the UK once.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, Mawile forced into the Sucker Punch, which does not even do half, I believe. As low kick goes into the Kyogre, Kyogre being rather heavy, actually goes right down to the low kick, even after the Intimidate.
And let's see if a single target Water Spout will be able to pick up the KO on the Mega Mawile here.
In the rain, single target Water Spout actually does not bring it down.
But yeah,
it's kind of to be expected because Mawile does take Origin Pulse in the rain. So that is a spread move. And at this point, Kyogre is almost at half.
Yeah, but Mawile can't take the 2 versus 1. Doesn't have any spread moves aside from Rock Slide, but even then it's slower. So
at most, he Sucker Punches and gets a crit on Kyogre, but then gets KO'd by a low kick. Even given how light it is. He does go for Sucker Punch, just hoping to get a last hurrah on the Kyogre. Does not get the crit, and low kick will finish it off and get us to game 2. You know, having a very comfortable showing with the Imoga, and Yoko, for once, leading in for Rayquaza, not something she typically does. Because due to its sash, Yoko tends to want to preserve it for the late game.
That is true. And okay, disregarding the sash, even with the sash still there, I feel that Rayquaza selling point is the speed. Once it gets paralyzed, most of its advantage is already gone, and the Dragon Ascent just puts it at a disadvantage. And I think another factor was because Yoko brought in the Mega Mawile, she couldn't Mega Evolve her Rayquaza, which kind of contributed, as you saw earlier, it couldn't KO the Primal Groudon. So maybe Yoko doesn't want to bring the Mawile and utilize Rayquaza to its full extent.
I think part of the reasoning that goes into Yoko bringing Mawile is that she doesn't want to be operating under Trick Room if Bronzong does come along for the ride, which is why Mawile came in. But as you pointed out, Groudon survived with 2 HP. If that was Mega Rayquaza, that Groudon was gone.
Yes, and well, Emil definitely have advantage now. He has already shown that his speed control method works without the Trick Room support from Bronzong. So how will Yoko adapt? Will she try to fight speed, or maybe Emil decides to switch it up and bring Bronzong this time and punishes her?
Actually, the other interesting point is that Imoga actually matched the Tailwind from the Crobat. It actually didn't have to, because both of Emil's Pokemon were faster than both of Yoko's Pokemon were faster than Emil anyway. So all he needed to do was go for Nuzzle instead of trying to match the Tailwind.
Well, that is a good point actually.
And if he goes for Tailwind, he actually runs the risk of walking into the Taunt from Crobat as well.
Since the Crobat is faster and can land the Taunt.
So now he knows also he needs to Nuzzle the Crobat twice, because I don't think he's gonna want to bank on static again.
Or I mean, what he could do is just leave the Crobat alone and just focus on the Crobat's partner. If he can disable, nuzzle the partner, Crobat by itself doesn't provide much option. It weakens Emil's team, but it cannot really land the finishing blow unless Pokemon, as you mentioned, was at down to 1 HP, which is
Still though,
yeah.
a paralyzed Crobat is very valuable to Emil because Crobat's value in as attacker is to Super Fang things and get the KO with a partner. If Crobat goes last, that value is gone.
Alright, we'll see what Yoko decides to lead with. Oh, she goes with the same lead.
Crobat requires, I think, the field of Yoko once again, deciding not to switch things up. But the
And-
Smeargle comes out for Emil next to the Kyogre.
Interesting.
The players did bring out similar leads against each other in the Premium Challenge. And Emil should by now know that Yoko is carrying Lumberry on the Crobat.
If not
Yeah,
for
we
previous
saw it on the
matches,
stat
yeah,
rate, yeah.
at least the previous game.
So very easy protect from Rayquaza and a Tailwind here would kind of negate the Dark Void and put Rayquaza in a very strong position.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Emil wants to even go for the Dark Void, knowing that the Crobat has the Lumberry. I'm not sure what he can achieve with the Smeargle here. The Crobat has enough focus.
Well, actually no switches, so Smeargle is staying in. Rayquaza goes for the obvious protect. And
Goes for the after-
goes for the after you. Kyogre gonna fire off a water
Just fires off the thunder.
into the Crobat. It's actually enough to KO. I believe it's weaker than Water Spout.
Yeah,
It
it
is
is.
enough to KO.
And you have to bear in mind that since the weather is negated, Thunder's accuracy is not at 100%. So there was a chance for it to miss right there.
That was a really risky play from Emil then.
Yeah.
I actually forgot that Rayquaza was negating the rain.
Yeah, I mean, the safer play would maybe to go for the Water Spout. And
Oh, I suppose you're right, because if without the rain, then Thunder does do more damage.
but
Crobat
that's
probably
run the
would have
chance
survived.
of being yeah.
Or 70% chance of 1-hit KO is better than a 0% chance of 1-hit KO.
And Emil takes a very quick KO right off the bat there.
And Smeargle revealing itself to be a Scarf variant, in fact. So a Scarf after you, potentially wreaking havoc over the rest of Yoko's team.
Yeah, I mean-
But I suppose Rayquaza will hang on because it's Sash. So after you Ice Beam wouldn't bring it down. But this can get really, really bad for Yoko. Yoko's forced to stay in non-Mega Rayquaza because if she Mega Evolves, I suppose she might want to Mega Evolve.
The
I'm
Delta
not entirely
Stream.
sure here.
Yeah, I guess negate the Delta Stream. With the Delta Stream can negate some damage coming
Also,
out from the Ice
definitely-
Beam.
Yeah, but it's gonna be 2-hit KO regardless, so not sure how much value he's gonna get.
I feel Yoko should just try to double into the... No, I don't know, it's the same conundrum as the Crobat. It's just reversed on this side because Emil has the idea is still the same. There's a support Pokemon that makes your KOs a lot easier. So, does Yoko want to get rid of the Smeargle?
Yep, we do see Mega Rayquaza, so Delta Stream is coming into play. I suppose the thing here is that as long as you can keep rain off the field, whether it be through Airlock or Delta Stream, Kyogre does not really want to be spamming Water Spout. So I suppose an Ice Beam now is not even going to be a 2-hit kill on the Zapdos.
And Rayquaza actually goes for the extreme speed here. I think predicting the Water Spout, trying to nerf some damage.
Yep, after you comes down onto the Kyogre, I think Ice Beam, but I suppose he did predict the Mega. Yes,
Goes for
Kyogre
the
actually
Water
goes
Spout.
for Water Spout. It should not do more than half, even to the Zapdos, due to the lack of rain.
Yeah, Rayquaza resists the attack, takes it quite comfortably, and goes for the Thunderbolt here.
Should not KO still though. Kyogre's special bout is significant, but I believe this is now...
Ooh, and Kyogre gets fully paralyzed. Although, you know, with the Smeargle support, speed is not an issue. The
At this
only
point
issue
though,
is
extreme speed should be able to pick off the Kyogre.
you are right. So does Emil actually doesn't look in a very good position here. The Smeargle being locked into the after you.
I suppose it comes down to the obvious KO here is to finish off the Kyogre and get some damage on the Smeargle as well. Well, I suppose the other option is that Zapdos can either Tailwind or Thunder Wave the Smeargle. If she manages to Thunder Wave the Smeargle, the threat after you is gone. And Zapdos is kind of free to do whatever it wants this turn. After you is not doing anything with the dead Kyogre.
And well, Rayquaza Sash being broken, but does choose to Mega. Does that mean that Yoko doesn't have the Mawa at the back?
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that she said that Moa has no value to her in this set. Smeargle does switch, so are we going to see Groudon come out? Yeah, we do see Groudon come out to change the weather into the sun. But Extreme Speed should pick off the Kyogre. I suppose Emil was hoping to catch either the Thunder Wave or the Thunderbolt into the
So
Groudon.
Yoko's optimal, her best move right here would be go for the Tailwind.
If she does carry Tailwind, which I'm not entirely sure she does. Because Thunder Wave and Tailwind kind of overlap, and you don't really want to run both.
That is true. Well, we shall see very shortly.
Oh, actually, Soul Stance come out from the Rayquaza. Yoko trying to take advantage of a predicted free turn. And Thunderbolt, if it finishes the Kyogre, she does. So Yoko actually predicting the switch from the Smeargle, catching the Kyogre.
instead of the Zapdos going for the setup there, we see a Swords Dance on the Rayquaza.
So we do see Yoko go for the setup. And now Rayquaza in a pretty strong position, though again, it has to eat after you move coming out. Oh, but now Extreme Speed will KO the Smeargle right off the bat after the Swords Dance.
Oh, but decides not to
It is
go with the
Lopani coming,
Smeargle.
yep.
Yep. Now with the option of Fake Out, is this a very easy double protect here coming from Emil? Oh, but Lopani does carry the threat of Encore.
Lopani has to Fake Out here. And Yoko has no threat because even if she protects, she can just Extreme Speed next turn. Which after the Swords Dance, might actually, no, I don't think it's enough to kill Lopani still.
Well, also bear in mind, I guess, instead of the Encore, Lopani does have the After You as well. So
Zapdos does switch out, so something is going to come in to take the Groudon's attack.
Kyogre.
Probably trying to switch into a Rock Slide, I presume.
At this point, maybe the...
Since I don't think Emil's not pressing Precipice Blades against this fight. Lopani does not have Gravity. So Lopani probably wants to fake out the Rayquaza, and I think Groudon did go for a Rock Slide here. Or HP Ice maybe.
Oh yeah, we did see the Hidden Power in the previous match.
The weather does change to rain, so Groudon would have hoped not to have hit Fire Punch on the Zapdos.
Or Eruption. Well,
Lopani Mega evolves, much to Railo's delight wherever he may be. And Rayquaza protects, expecting the Fake Out coming out.
Yes. And
the Fake Out does come out onto the Rayquaza, and Groudon actually does go for the Eruption into the rain. Yoko with a very clean prediction there.
Yeah, I kind of felt that after seeing the Hidden Power, I kind of had a sneaking suspicion that Emil's Groudon might be more specially inclined. So, why not even have the Precipice Blaze? But either way, now that the Fake Out has been burnt, I guess it kind of pigeonholes. I mean, it's Mega Rayquaza.
Emil is a bit forced into the after you play here and does not even want to go for it. Groudon going into the Smeargle, and Lopani probably eating the Extreme Speed here. Yeah, Lopani eating the +2 Extreme Speed should not bring it down. But
it does.
Lopani's bulk not really helping it there.
Avoids the Encore as well, and goes for the Water Spout. Should be able to take care of the Smeargle.
And it will be Groudon against the world. A faster Kyogre and a +2 Rayquaza. It should be going to a Game 3.
Yeah, and I mean, although there is a Zapdos at the back as well, so I mean, although it can't really touch the Groudon, at least it could negate some of the... It could make some of Groudon's moves spread damage, so the partner will be able to survive.
So despite Emil pulling off a stunning turn 1 with the After You Thunder, the After You Lock kind of pigeonholed him into a very predictable series of moves.
Yes, indeed. I don't know. Maybe he could have been better pressing off Dark Void, you feel?
No, not into the Lump Crobat.
You're right.
The first time was good, but I suppose he could have mixed it up in the subsequent turns.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he should have recognized that the play had already exceeded its... had already done its job, and you know, he should try to switch things up, yes, and try to reset its Scarf and be able to use other moves.
I kind of feel that Emil kind of thought that the Rayquaza wouldn't Mega Evolve again, as he did in the previous game, because he didn't really seem to game plan for a weaker Rayquaza. He couldn't really take the hits, and once he Mega Evolved, as you saw, +2 actually did just clean one he KO'd.
Not only that, the Swords Dance was a move that I did not expect to see from the Rayquaza as well. And it just goes to show that Emil cannot give Yoko the room to set up. Not just for her Crobat and Zapdos possible Tailwind or Thunder Wave, but he also has to watch out for the Rayquaza setting up for devastating Swords Dance Extreme Speed plays.
So now the question for Emil to ask himself is, does he want to go for a Trick Room mode? Because now that he knows Rayquaza's set, Extreme Speed and Dragon Ascent, the new attacking options.
Yes, he does go with the Bronzong, excellent nickname there, and the Smeargle.
A stunning nickname from Emil there with the Bronzong. Yes, Emil does want to go for the Trick Room in this mode, in this game, and it's quite clear why he wants to do so. Especially in this matchup here. Now that he knows Rayquaza's attacks are Extreme Speed and Dragon Ascent, Bronzong does not care at all about the Rayquaza.
Yeah, but I kind of feel Emil's leads lack a bit of offense, so even with the Trick Room up, he does have to switch to bring in attackers to take advantage of.
Emil is really kind of banking on Smeargle dying, in fact, to get Trick Room up and get an attacker in at the same time.
At this point, Yoko does have Crobat to... I mean, you're correct when pointing out that Rayquaza does not have any hits that hit neutral even on the Bronzong, but the Crobat is there to nerf Bronzong's HP and whittle it down quite fast. I mean, after 2 Super Fangs, you assume...
the Dragon Ascent is going to KO. Rayquaza going for the Protect, not wanting to get Dark Voided.
I think it's a very safe play from Yoko here. And
After you goes into the Bronzong,
very interesting
Bronzong
play.
Is going to go for Trick Room before it can get taunted. Bronzong dodging the taunt by taking the after you from Smeargle, and the taunt does come out onto the Bronzong, but after.
Oh,
Smeargle.
so Smeargle actually. So, I mean, the Smeargle is going to switch out anyway because it has the Scarf. Is after you is not going to be very useful in
and
this.
now that Rayquaza has burned its Protect, he's forced to switch out because Gyro Ball is going to do a lot of damage.
Maybe I mean, okay, if Yoko has the Mawa, this would be an excellent time to bring it in.
Oh, yes, it would be. I wonder if Yoko predicted the Triple mode this time.
Considering her current leads, I'm not sure she did. But although we can't really say for sure until she Mega Evolves her Rayquaza, I mean that's one of the signs that whether or not she has the Mawa at the back.
Yes. And at this point, Rayquaza just wants to switch out. He doesn't really want to take a free Gyro Ball and do insignificant damage in the meantime.
So what did Emil bring as his Trick Room sweepers? Did he bring the probably both of his
Probably
primals
both
actually?
his primals at the back, yes.
So he has
Bunny has no room to play in a Trick Room, and Imoga is not going to be doing much.
So on
damage.
top of that, he has to kind of juggle the weather as well. Make sure that there isn't any weather that clashes with his own attacks firing out.
Yes. Since he is running Eruption and Water Spout, both of which don't play with each other very well.
And the Smeargle does switch out as expected.
Smeargle switches out, which means Rayquaza actually stays in.
Huh.
Rayquaza staying in to eat the Gyro Ball. Is he going to Mega Evolve?
We shall see very shortly.
An interesting choice by Yoko. I actually expected Rayquaza to switch out there. Or is she trying to fish for a Source Dance again? So Rayquaza is going to go for the... yeah, Rayquaza does Mega Evolve, so no more for Emil to worry about. I'm sure he's quite happy to see that actually. Especially since this turn, after the Gyro Ball, Rayquaza's Sash is going to be broken. And it's going to be in KO range for the Eruption, I suspect.
Well, does have a Crobat up there, so...
Gyro Ball does go into the Rayquaza slot. Or into the Crobat? Oh, it goes into the Rayquaza slot. Actually doesn't do that much damage.
And Dragon Ascent is fired off. Should be into the Smeargle spot.
Yes.
To get some
Try to
free
catch some
damage
free
on whatever is trying to switch in.
Goes into the Groudon. Is he going to do half? He does do exactly half damage. And Crobat probably wants to Super Fang into the Bronzong.
And yep, goes for the Super Fang.
Both Pokemon are brought down to 50%.
Yeah, but definitely Emil quite comfortable here, I would feel.
We've yet to see an item from the Bronzong. And since he has an odd amount of HP, the Super Fang did not bring it down to exactly half to proc a potential Citrus
Yeah,
Berry.
and it was taunted, so there's no mental herb that proc.
The taunt went to Smeargle.
Oh, right. So there could be a chance that it was still taunted. But given that
Question
Emil
here
went for
though
the...
is that now the Gravity Pacific Blaze is live for Emil.
But...
And he will KO Crobat
that
because
that
Crobat is
correct.
weak.
Oh, but Bronzong actually goes for the skill swap here.
Skill swap into Groudon. Groudon getting... Oh, he went for the HPIs there. He went for the HPIs. Yes, he went for the HPIs.
Woo. And
Taunt will go into Bronzong. So now the Gravity play is off the field. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't think Emil runs Gravity on his Bronzong. Since his Groudon is more reliant on Eruption than it is on ground attack, which we haven't seen yet.
And I mean, Bronzong is not really a threat, not really offensively inclined. But under Trick Room here, I mean, it dealt 40%. So now considering the defense drop from the Rayquaza, should do might even threaten the KO
Because
here.
it has to switch, I think. He doesn't want to stay in. Because I suppose Eruption is not doing any kind of significant damage at this point. And Groudon does switch out.
Bit of a weird play though.
But as you pointed out, Gyro Ball should kill the Rayquaza now. As Rayquaza does switch out, are we going to see Kyogre there to eat the Gyro Ball? Yes, we do see Kyogre there to comfortably take the Gyro Ball.
And kind of leaving the Crobat alone to Super Fang whatever it pleases, even though it is one of the slowest Pokemon on the field currently.
The other thing to note though is that now that Bronzong has Desolate Land, Bronzong can now give Kyogre Desolate Land. Oh no, it doesn't want to because then it will switch the weather back
Yeah,
to
I mean, you could give the
you give the
Smeargle,
Crobat Desolate Land.
but it can't
Goes
because
to
it's
Gyro
being
Ball
taunted.
into
Yep.
Rayquaza, yep. So
Not really.
20% there, Super Fang back into the other slot. Actually bring down the Bronzong.
Yeah, Bronzong.
Are we going to see? Yes, we do see Citrus Berry proc for the Bronzong now.
And Emil does have to worry about the Trick Room turns as well. Especially since outside from Trick Room, he doesn't have a real means
He
of
does
control.
have Stuck Void Smeargle.
Yeah, but the Crobat is there, so that's...
Crobat has yet to eat his Lumberry, so definitely an area of concern for Emil.
And you consider, well, Trick Room is still up, so the Crobat technically should be faster than the Smeargle and should be able to taunt it. I'm not sure, but Yoko seems to have the advantage in terms of offensive pressure here.
Yes, Bronzong just can't do anything to either of these two Pokemon here. He can Gyro Ball the Crobat, of course.
Oh, actually goes for the fake
Can't
out.
fake out. Gonna buy Emil a turn to fight off a Gyro Ball into the Crobat. So it's gonna do about 50%. Yep, Crobat being a very fast Pokemon.
And Super Fang
Into
lands.
the Smeargle. Yep, into the Smeargle to bring it down to 81.
I guess, yeah. Oh, but
Now to the damage return to normal, but now Smeargle is locked into fake out.
yes, that is not really ideal situation for Emil here. And the Bronzong, I think at this HP, he has already eaten his Citrus Berry, and I don't know, the Kyogre looks threatening to be able to threaten double kill.
But the Groudon switch in can
That
save
is
Bronzong.
true, that is true.
A Groudon switch in and a Trick Room will actually get Trick Room up again and get Groudon
Is
in. under
Bronzong
Trick
still
Room.
taunted though?
Oh, Bronzong is still taunted. That is true. Groudon switch is kind of predictable though, and an Ice Beam there is going to do a lot of damage.
Not just an Ice Beam, but maybe a Super Fang Ice Beam
Yes.
would be enough to pick up the KO. The Smeargle Scarf really working against it in this match.
But if Emil predicts the double target, then he might want to sacrifice it.
No,
but
he
nope,
chooses not to.
go for the switch. Groudon will come back in and will hope to stick around for one more turn. A very dangerous play for Emil there. Since Yoko really could read the Super Fang and Ice.
Oh, but she
Yoko does go
retreats.
for the switch of the Crobat. Are we going to see Rayquaza come back? No, this is a new Pokemon, which is the Zapdos.
Zapdos. And
Ice Beam goes into the Groudon spout, I presume. Should bring it all the way down into the red.
and
And
Gyro Ball
goes into the Zapdos. It's going to be a neutral damage. It's not going to do that much. Again, less than 20% in fact. Not very effective.
Oh, but the Bronzong gets paralyzed by the Zapdos static. And yeah, it is free to go for the Trick Room now, but can it?
Yeah. I wonder. Thunderbolt into the Bronzong.
I believe it should be able to survive.
Yes, but a subsequent Ice Beam. Oh, but Rayquaza can come in to change the weather into Delta Stream and allow Kyogre to Water Spout.
That would be very threatening indeed. Yes, I mean Yoko does have all the cards here, and Emil kind of playing on the back foot. Maybe he should be a bit more proactive in his while he had the advantage
Emil
in the
though,
trick turns.
always still has the ace here. If Crobat is not on the field and Smeargle comes back in, Yoko is going to be facing the Smeargle train.
That is true.
Yoko has to be very aware of that scenario coming in. If she has a double KO here, Smeargle and Kyogre hit the field, Crobat with nowhere to be seen.
Not only that actually. Now that Smeargle is at 50% HP, don't you think a Rayquaza Extreme C would be able to take it out before it could move?
But you see, neither Rayquaza or Crobat is on the field right now. Which is exactly what Emil wants. Emil wants both, even if he has to sack both of these Pokemon on the field right now. If you can get Smeargle and Kyogre in against the Kyogre and Zapdos, neither of which can stop Smeargle's Dark Void, Emil could just build from
I
there.
would actually argue against that point, because if he loses this two Pokemon right here and now, then the Smeargle will be choice locked for the entire game.
Then he just wants to lock himself into Dark Void.
And Groudon takes the Ice Beam and goes down. Yeah, I think Emil looks like he's sacrificing. Oh, Bronzong avoids the Heat Wave, and Bronzong goes for the Trick Room here.
Bronzong avoiding the single target Heat Wave in the sun to get the Trick Room up.
And
But
well,
that also means Smeargle can't come back in.
yeah, I mean, well, the Kyogre is free to come in, I guess.
Which it does. Kyogre does hit the field. Primal Kyogre, got a Primal Vert. Change the weather into the rain and threaten the Water Spout on everything on the field. No priority attacks on Yoko's side of the field.
What Yoko has working in her favor is the Bronzong is still paralyzed. There is a chance for paralysis to happen, and maybe she can take advantage of that to create an opening.
So the other question is, Bronzong's ability is still Desolate Land, right?
Yes.
So he does not want to be swapping that into anyone right now.
That is true, yes. But I guess it could swap and get rid of Delta Stream if the Rayquaza switches in.
So Rayquaza will be going into a Water Spout, so Delta Stream won't be helping in much here.
Bronzong...
And Rayquaza does not want to be switching in, because Rayquaza at this point can take one Water Spout. If Rayquaza switches in, he dies to the second Water Spout.
Yeah, and at this point, Bronzong not really contributing much to our offense, which Emil, I think, really needs now. He's all of Yoko still has all of her Pokemon out on the field. And having lost one of his primals already, his only offensive Pokemon here
Bronzong
is
goes for the skill swap into the Kyogre.
a bit of a...
So Desolate Land will trigger first, but then the rain will kick in as well right after.
I think he was predicting the Rayquaza switch. Oh! Nope.
Emil, perhaps with a misunderstanding of the game mechanics there.
Yeah, the Primordial Sea ability didn't come back there. So
Oh, Primality triggered first, but because it was already raining, Primality didn't work, and then Desolate Land kicked in. That's what I tested with Isaac at some point at the beginning of the format.
and Bronzong goes for the protect here. I don't know. Emil kind of forced himself into a corner right there with that move. Ice Beam going into the Zapdos. That's the only move that Emil can do. Doesn't even take out the Zapdos, which eats his Citrus Berry.
I'm actually a bit confused by that. Emil's out there was to skill swap Yoko's Kyogre and get Rain back up. Without that option, Kyogre is going to Ice Water Spout in Sun. Well, Kyogre will stick around for another turn, but Emil is at this point just delaying the inevitable. Yoko kind of playing for food.
Yeah, the not understanding mechanics of the skill swap there. Primordial Sea activating first. A bit unfortunate for Emil's side. And especially at this crucial match, at the last deciding
Not the time you want to be discovering that, oh, this thing works this way, not that way.
Yeah, and I kind of feel that maybe he shouldn't have done that move as well because
He clearly predicted the Delta Stream coming in and wanted to keep the rain.
And that was,
he didn't know how the ability trigger worked.
And I mean, even if the Delta Stream was coming to play, as you pointed out, the Water Spout should still be doing a significant amount of damage right there.
Yes, it will be a 2-hit KO on incoming Rayquaza. Yoko didn't want to take that. Emil, I think, kind of playing himself there.
And now even with the option, I don't think the Kyogre wants to be firing off Water Spouts at that HP.
Yes, the Silent has come back up again. I think this time we will see Rain go up though. Yes, now Rain does go up.
But this is more in favor for Yoko than Emil, I think.
Yes, because at this point, Emil does not have access to the Water Spout. And Yoko will get a Water Spout out, get 2 KOs, and she will move on to top 4 to face Melvin J.
I mean, Emil just has the Smeargle at the back, doesn't provide much offensive. Is not able to close out the game for Emil right there. So, Emil's last hopes of knocking out Yoko's Pokemon going down there with the Primal Kyogre.
Really inopportune time for Emil to discover how the mechanics worked.
And I really question whether he should have went for that play as well. It felt really kind of risky because, I mean, it felt safe and it felt like it wouldn't backfire, but there was some, I mean, at the very least, Bronzong was able to get off maybe some free damage as well.
I suppose the counterpoint there is maybe, just maybe, he forgot he had Desolate Land.
Okay, that's true. Bronzong fully paralyzed should not really matter since the game is already in Yoko's favor.
Water Spout in the rain, will pick up 2 KOs. No! Bronzong actually hanging on because Kyogre, I believe, has already been damaged.
And Bronzong being taunted right there. I guess the Bronzong hangs on to the very last as the very last Pokemon standing between Emil and...
If only Emil had more Pokemon like Bronzong.
Yes. Dedicated, stalwart, and...
Bronzong hanging on to the end, not even getting KO. Oh, long live Bronzong.
Emil saving the pride of Bronzong there. But really, I would say, I mean, Emil went for what he assumed was a very safe play there with the skill swap. Just the mechanics didn't really work out in his favor.
I really think that he just forgot about Desolate Land on his Bronzong because it had been so many turns. His Bronzong had been taunted. It's been 3-4 turns since he had skill swapped Desolate Land onto himself.
And maybe he also has he hasn't switched out his Bronzong as well. So it's been on the field for very long, and yeah, he really forgot about the Desolate Land on his Bronzong.
Well, if he did remember, then I suppose then it was a case of he didn't know how the mechanics worked. In this case, Rain went up first. He didn't bother because Rain was already up, and then Sun kicked in.
I kind of feel that if he had gone, he had not gone for the skill swap play, and instead maybe gone for a Gyro Ball or Water Spout, just to get off extra damage, that would still put him in the running to, you know, at least be able to take that match. Nevertheless, Yoko, I think, played pretty well this time, identifying that Moa from the very first game did not help her much, and opting to fully utilize the Rayquaza.
I suppose the question he needs to ask is that Imoga works well for him in game 1. Should he have stuck to it?
Yeah,
he tried to bring in the Trick Room mode, but we saw Bronzong just couldn't do enough, especially against the Kyogre.
And I don't know, maybe he felt kind of inclined to because in the second game, Yoko kind of led with the same leads with the Rayquaza and just adapted by not bringing the Moa and was able to, although he didn't bring the Imoga there, but was able to power through Emil's team. So maybe he felt that he couldn't fight speed with speed and had to go for a Trick Room to bring in offensive power.
It's something to think about, especially with regards to Bronzong. The thing about Bronzong is that a lot of players realize that the teams can't really take out Bronzong easily. But the counterpoint to that is, because the Bronzong's primary offense is Gyro Ball, as we saw in Yoko's team, Gyroball could not 2-hit KO anything other than the Crobat. Rayquaza was a 3-hit KO, Kyogre resist, Zapdos resist. So even though Bronzong was a guaranteed Trick Room, if Bronzong was on the field during that Trick Room, Emil couldn't get anything done. So players need to remember that even if you can't KO Bronzong, if Bronzong can't do anything to you, you can afford to leave it on the field.
And well, I believe there's another factor which I felt was very important for all the matches was that the Crobat there actually did a lot of work. Because since Yoko didn't have a surefire way to OHKO or 2-hit KO, Crobat kind of ensured that Bronzong was still being threatened to being KO'd with the Super Fang right there. Yeah.
And finally, as a final point, Emil did have to Scarf After You as a very immediate threat to win his... Emil won turn 1 in every single one of those games.
Yes.
But locking yourself into After You, just in the end, the cons were not worth the pros. And he won game 1, but he just the games just went steadily downhill. Forced to switch out his Mega under Trick Room.
Losing momentum.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Yoko being a bit more steady in her approach, not really switching out unless she needs to. I guess you could say the Smeargle, I don't know. The Scarf Smeargle also didn't really work out in the match where Emil decided to bring the Trick Room especially.
Yes.
Yeah.
Alright, so congratulations Yoko, but she has no time to rest on her laurels. She's going right into her next game. She'll be playing against Singapore's finest, Melvin King, number 2 in
Monster
Asia
of
Pacific
the
region.
APAC region.